Hey guys, Josh here with a video on 5 ways for you to be climbing in League that aren't related to your player skill. I think it's a pretty obvious connection to make that someone's rating is directly linked to how they perform as a player, and whereas obviously that is certainly true, a diamond player is most likely going to be better than a platinum player, plat better than gold, etc, etc. I do actually think there are some little things that hold people back from being a few tiers above that aren't necessarily because they're a bad player. When I'm playing on my unranked to diamond account, I see a lot of players maybe who are like in mid gold or something, who are probably just as good as people who are sitting in low platinum, but they're just, there's little things they're doing that really hold them back, and it's those things that I want to kind of focus on in this video. I want to do things a little bit differently today. I'm doing this this recording here in one take, so I want it to feel more natural, I want it to feel a bit more conversational, so let me know what you think about it down below. I'm not going to be editing it too much. But anyway, the first way that you can be improving your rating without actually being a good player, or without improving your player skill, is to stop playing after 2 losses. Now you can say whether you want to stop playing after 2 losses in like one day, so you never play, you wait till tomorrow to play again, or whether it's just like you wait a few hours before you queue up again. But basically you want to cut the amount of lose streaks you have by stopping after more than 1 loss. This is something which I've always said since like, season 2 or something. It's something I never do. Like, I never do this myself. I'm really bad at like reining myself in. I know it, you just, when you're on a lose streak, especially if you're a bit frustrated about it, you just want to get that win under your belt. You feel so shitty about like stopping your ranked play without getting that win. No one likes to end on a loss, but legitimately, if you care about your elo, if you care about your rating, just stop after 2 losses. The biggest reason for this obviously is because losing more or less in ranked is very equivalent to going on tilt. You don't want to go on tilt. Being on tilt is probably the biggest enemy that you'll face when you're trying to climb. If you're tilting too much, then you are going to struggle. And just saying don't tilt, that's a really bad piece of advice, but genuinely just stop playing, because any reason I can give you guys to stop tilting, it's all dependent on the players, all dependent on the individual. Something that might help you to stop tilt might not help someone else, and vice versa. But just the one thing that I can say for everyone to do is to cut it short before it happens too much. Don't play if you're losing League of Legends. Second point I want to make here: play either utility or like tanky champions within your champion pool, especially on your off roll. I think it's really important for you to be able to accept that you're going to have to get carried in some of your games. I think there is a bit too much of this like notion, this mentality that if you're not hard carrying your games, then you're just not going to win. Everyone around you is awful, your team is awful, they're always going to be making mistakes, they're always going to be throwing the game, and the only way you're going to win is if you step up and you make the plays and you make it happen. To an extent, that is true. If you want to consistently win, then you are going to have to be the most influential factor in your games. However, having said that, if you are playing in your ranked games and you've got like a decent amount of games on your belt, like you're not just like 5 wins in or something like that, then statistically speaking, you're playing with players of the same skill level. All the people in your ranked games are people that have climbed to the same rating as you the same way. They've won the same amount of games, or their MMR is the same, whatever it is. Basically, they're not as bad as you think they are, and your allies are always going to be the same as your enemies. So if you think your enemies, or your allies, sorry, if you think your allies are terrible, then your enemies are terrible as well. But if your enemies aren't necessarily that bad, then if your enemies can exploit the weaknesses of your allies, then your allies can exploit the weaknesses of your enemies, and you shouldn't be afraid to get carried by them. So specifically some champions who I'd recommend to do this: top lane, someone like Nautilus or Maokai. These are champions who, the reason why you're picking these utility or these tanky champions is because they can still influence the game despite the fact they're behind, right? If you get behind or whatever it is, or if you just, if you're not hard carrying, you're still extremely useful. Nautilus is very good at that. That's my personal, I use Nautilus a lot because I'm a crap top laner, and I get carried by playing Nautilus, and I can allow myself to get carried by playing that. So Nautilus Maokai for top lane. Lysandra was one I used to pick for mid lane. I think she's really solid. She's always useful. You know, she's got her ultimate. She's got a lot of CC. She can always play safe if you want to as well. And then people like Ashe for AD carry. She's another one who's easy to get carried because she's always got her ultimate up and she can like make plays with her ulti without actually having to be a good AD carry. You know, and then in the jungle, everyone you pick in the jungle is like supporty or tanky and somewhat similar for support as well. But just, you know, the general theory here, guys, is not to be afraid to get carried by your team. Don't have that huge ego. Don't think that if you're not going to carry, you're not going to win. I'm sorry if I sound a little bit off, by the way, right now. I can kind of feel it in my nose, like I'm a little bit, I don't know, groggy. I was trying to record this like 2 or 3 hours ago, but I you know, I lay down just like, you know, I'll take a break. I'll lie down and take a break, and I fell asleep for over 2 hours. So that, you know, I'm kind of like, holy shit, I need to record this now. Sorry if I sound really awful right here, but anyway. Do forgive me, guys. Anyway, moving on to our third point here. Don't type. Do not type anything in chat unless it's good job or TY. GJ or TY, don't type anything. That may sound a little bit weird, like what if I just want to have banter with my team? What if I just want to, you know, communicate with my team? What if I want to discuss strategies or shot call, whatever? No, don't do it. Don't do it. It sounds strange, you know. Why would I not want to communicate with my team? It's a competitive game, and you're advising me to not talk to my team. Isn't that really bad advice? Well, I mean, it may seem so on paper, but honestly, in practice, in my personal experience, if you really want to climb, people who there is a big risk of you to say too much than to say too little. You're going to be saying things that are going to hinder you climbing than not saying enough. Like, no one has made someone go AFK, no one has made someone rage, no one has made someone tilt by saying nothing. Or if it has happened, it's happened like 1% of the time compared to when you do type too much. You know, if you're just like getting a little bit frustrated, whatever, or arguing with your teammates, or sticking up for yourself, or just like, you know, if one player on your team who's like feeding his ass off and blaming everyone else starts ripping into you, and you're just like, all right, settle down then, mate. You're trying to put him in his place. Don't do it. Just don't say anything. You don't need to communicate with your team at all. Anything you want to say that is pertinent to the game, you can say through pings. You don't have to say it through actually typing it. You know, help me ping, or like if you want to do an objective, use the assist me ping. If you think someone's going to get collapsed on, if your lane's roaming or something, just use those as warning pings. If you're going to go gank somewhere, on your way pings. You know, it doesn't, you don't need to type anything. Just don't type anything. Just don't bother. It's just a lot safer if you don't say anything. Fourth point here is a willingness to play from behind. This is something I see really like a huge amount, honestly, in ranked, especially as I've been ranking up in my rank to diamond. People just don't know how to play from behind, but more specifically, they don't really want to play from behind. They get very down and very defeatist after just a few kills in the early game. And whereas it may be a bit difficult to win games if you are playing from behind, which is fair enough, you know, it's understandable. That is kind of exactly how it's meant to be, because, you know, after all, it's a comeback and you are playing from behind. At the end of the day, there are a lot of games you can win just by not giving up. You know, I mean, if you just think about your allies, how much you view your allies as these idiots who just always throw and just are really bad, always getting caught out of position. Like, I'm sure you guys can think back at a time when you said, oh yeah, I was winning this ranked game, everyone was losing, but my AD carry just wouldn't group up, and then he kept getting caught and kept throwing. You know, how many times have you said something like that, right? Well, the enemy team is susceptible to doing that as well. You've just got to be the ones to make it happen. You know, you got to be the ones to catch these people out, to make these plays. You can certainly win from behind. Like, no game is impossible to win. There are some games which are going to be very hard to win. Obviously, I get that. I'm not saying you should be able to win every single game. I'm just saying, don't give up. If you can cast your minds back to Season 2, I think it was Season 2, or was it CLG versus Moscow 5? I think it was CLG EU versus Moscow 5. It was like a 70-minute game. CLG EU got absolutely stomped in the early game, but they stalled it out and they managed to win. Diamond Procs rage quit before the game even ended. It was a very good game, you know. And if that can happen, you know, if they can come back from a massive deficit against one of the world's best teams of all time, then you can come back against your gold enemies in solo queue. Last point I want to make here, guys. Oh my goodness, I'm losing my voice. Last point I want to make here. Just want to say as well, if you are enjoying the video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. And, you know, just thank you for watching. You know, I appreciate you guys watching my videos. Last point I want to make: abuse the overpowered champions in solo queue. There are, you know, sometimes there's just like some really broken shit flying around, and it gets either, you know, it doesn't get fixed for like a patch or two. just learn how to play it, spam it in normals. Once you learn how to play it, just play it in ranked. Like, you can get a lot of elo just by playing something that is just ridiculously broken, that you shouldn't be able to play because it shouldn't even exist. Right now, Echo with Triforce, I think, is a very good contender for that. Back in the day, I did it with Shyvana when she was really like overpowered, and I went like 9-1 on her. You know, like, there's just loads of ways that you can be abusing overpowered champions to be getting basically free elo. You may think that goes against the point I was saying about picking utility or like tanky champions. I don't want to say like, you know, pick those champions every single game. I just mean you should have them in your champion pool. Anyway, that's basically all I want to say for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Again, let me know what you thought about this, you know, different kind of format where I'm just talking off the top of my head. Well, I've written notes and stuff, you know, I'm not editing what I'm saying too much. It's more conversational. Let me know what you thought about that. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video.